We must ensure that China cannot dominate us or our allies and partners. Maintaining the status quo requires strength. So it doesn't make sense for countries in Europe to do that while key allies in Asia spend less on defense in the face of an even more formidable threat, not to mention North Korea. And under President Trump's leadership, the United States is committed to achieving peace through strength. That starts with deterring aggression around the world and here in the Indo-Pacific, here in our priority theater, here with you, our allies, and our partners. The United States stands ready to work with any country that is willing to step up and preserve the global and regional peace that we all hold dear. And to that end, from day one, President Trump gave me a clear mission at the Defense Department: achieve peace through strength. But elsewhere and around the world, we are engaging with, enabling, and empowering our allies, sometimes with tough love, but love nonetheless. We're pushing our allies in Europe to own more of their own security, to invest in their defense, things that are long overdue. We're focused on delivering for the American people, on safeguarding their security, on protecting their economic interests, and on using common sense to preserve peace in the Indo-Pacific. Standing here in Singapore, I think this approach lines quite well with the pragmatic style of Singapore's legendary Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew. Like the late Prime Minister, President Trump's approach is grounded in common sense and national interests, built on a willingness to work with others while respecting mutual self-interest, and informed by an understanding of military strength, but shaped by a preference for engaging on the basis of commerce and sovereignty, not war. We're also amplifying cooperation within the Quad and multilateral frameworks. Within the Quad, we're also leading an initiative called the Indo-Pacific Logistics Network. Let me begin by saying we do not seek conflict with Communist China. We will not instigate nor seek to subjugate or humiliate. The threat China poses is real, and it could be imminent. We hope not, but it certainly could be. Facing these threats, we know that many countries are tempted by the idea of seeking both economic cooperation with China and defense cooperation with the United States. Now, that is a geographic necessity for many. But beware the leverage that the CCP seeks with that entanglement. Economic dependence on China only deepens their malign influence and complicates our defense decision space during times of tension. The United States, especially under President Trump, does not seek war. We do not seek to dominate or strangle China, to encircle or provoke. We do not seek regime change, nor will we instigate or disrespect a proud and historic culture. We will be ready, but we will not be reckless. Instead, we seek peace. But we must ensure that China cannot dominate us or our allies and partners. Maintaining the status quo requires strength. We ask, and indeed we insist, that our allies and partners do their part on defense. Our defense spending must reflect the dangers and threats that we face today. Because deterrence doesn't come on the cheap. Thanks to President Trump, Asian allies should look to countries in Europe as a newfound example. NATO members are pledging to spend 5% of their GDP on defense, even Germany. So it doesn't make sense for countries in Europe to do that while key allies in Asia spend less on defense in the face of an even more formidable threat, not to mention North Korea. Ultimately, a strong, resolute, and capable network of allies and partners is our key strategic advantage. We're doing this here in the Indo-Pacific in three distinct ways. First, by improving our forward force posture. Second, by helping allies and partners strengthen their defense capabilities. And third, by rebuilding defense industrial bases.
Secretary, thank you very much.
You mentioned that allies and partners are important. However, in recent years, when the United States set up multilateral alliances or frameworks in this region, such as Quad and AUKUS, it did not include ASEAN countries. So if there are differences or disputes between US alliances and ASEAN, which side do you choose? Do you support ASEAN centrality? If so, how can you ensure ASEAN centrality in this way? Thank you.
I appreciate the question. From China, I would simply say, and welcome that dialogue and conversation, by the way. I would simply point to the countries we've engaged with here, whether they are a part of ASEAN, whether they are a part of AUKUS, any of those architectures. We are not going to look only inside the confines of how previous administrations looked at this region. I think you saw in my remarks intentionally, we're opening our arms to countries across the spectrum, not promising something in the far future that sounds great on a PowerPoint or at a IISS forum, but honest conversations about brass tacks, hard power, military capabilities that would be needed to be brought to bear. If and when, unfortunately, there were a contingency, which, as I hope I made quite clear, is not something we seek.